Hi there, for this week's videos, we will be going over realistic fiction. Go ahead and say that with me. Realistic fiction. Good job. Realistic fiction is stories that are made up, but could really happen in real life. So this week, every day, we will be watching a little video on the process of how an author writes a realistic fiction. So let's go ahead and get started with that little video, and then we'll come back and review these different characteristics of a realistic fiction. All right, realistic fiction, writing for kids. So with this video, we are going to be learning the different, throughout the week, we'll be learning the different steps on how to write a realistic fiction story. So let's go ahead and get started.
Realistic fiction, writing for kids. Episode 1. What is it? Realistic fiction is a genre or type of writing. Realistic means that something seems real. Fiction means stories that are not real. So realistic fiction is a type of writing that seems like it could be real, but it isn't. The things that happen in the story could really happen though. In realistic fiction stories, the characters seem like they could be real people or animals, but they usually aren't. That means no vampires or superheroes, just regular people. The same is true for the setting. A realistic fiction story wouldn't take place on the moon because that's not realistic. It may take place in a park or at a school. The events that happen in the story are also realistic. The problems that the characters face are real problems that could really happen to real people. So when we write realistic fiction, we use our imagination to create stories that haven't actually happened, but they could. Are you ready to start writing your own realistic fiction story? Check out episode 2 to learn how to start brainstorming ideas.
So episode 2 will be for tomorrow's video. Let's go ahead and quickly review. What realistic fiction is. So realistic fiction, like I said earlier, they are stories that are made up but could happen in real life. So we have characters, setting, and events, which we just heard from that girl. She went over them, but we'll review them real quick. Characters. People act and talk like real people. Animals act like pets or other real animals. So in realistic fiction, are we going to be seeing dogs wearing clothes and standing up and talking like humans? No. Are humans, the people, are they going to be flying and have powers, magical powers? No. Then we have setting. The setting is a place that could be real in today's world. So, for example, school, the beach, a park, those are real places. Then events. The events could really happen. So maybe it's about a little girl's soccer game, or a birthday party she went to. Those are things that really could happen, okay? Characters have problems that real people might have. So maybe someone lost their markers. That's a real problem. Maybe someone accidentally tripped because their shoe wasn't tied. That's a real problem. And then the problems get resolved, okay? So that is realistic fiction. Let's go ahead and look at some examples, and I'm going to have you give me a thumbs up if you're like, oh, that could be an example for realistic fiction, or no, that's not a good example, okay? Let's go ahead and look at some examples. All right, so I have a whole bunch of different little books right here, and I'm going to click on one, and we are going to go through the different pages, and at the end of the book, I'm going to have you give me a thumbs up for, yes, this is a good example of a realistic fiction. The story's fake, or made up, but it really could happen, or no, this story looks completely made up. That could not happen in real life. Okay? So let's look at Bink and Goalie. I have it muted because we don't need to listen to the words. So let's look at pay attention to the setting, the characters. So far the characters are behaving like real people do, right? He's having a hard time with his socks, putting on his socks. That's a real problem. Sometimes it's hard to put your socks on. Making pancakes, is that something you can really do in real life? They're talking on the phone. Can you really talk on a phone in real life? Do goldfish really swim in little fishings? So far, let's see. So far it looks like it might be a good example of realistic fiction. Uh-oh. So he tripped over his laces, which is an actual problem. Our goldfish is out. She's trying to save the goldfish. All right. What do you think? Is this, so far, were the characters behaving like real people? Yes. Was the setting, did it seem real? Like real places? Yes. There's a few problems that we caught on to. Do they seem like they could be real problems in real life? Yes. So this book looks like it could be an example of realistic fiction. Let's go ahead and go back and see if we can't find another story and figure out what that story is. Chrysanthemum. All right, let's see this book. If you've ever read this book, this is a really good one. Okay, so far, just by looking at the characters, are those real? Are those humans? Are they people? No. So are those characters that would be in a realistic fiction? Because remember, we don't have mice that stand up and talk and get dressed, so that's not a good example. Okay, this looks like a dream, but okay. So yeah, if you understand the story, that was just a dream that she was having, a little nightmare. Okay. Setting looks okay, but I think the biggest thing is the characters. Okay, so the characters in that book, so were those characters that were acting like people? Yes. But were they people? No, they were animals. So right there, just by the characters, that gives off to us, the reader, that that story is fiction. It is made up. It's not an example of realistic fiction, okay? So I hope you like this little video over realistic fiction. Tomorrow we'll continue learning more about it.